It was 1948, January 1st, 1948. 4 persons electrocuted were the headlines in the Floyd County Times. Tragedy hits Floyd town last week. Flannery and son, 6. Mr. and Mrs. Norris, victims at Martin. An odd crowd of several hundreds of persons saw 4 persons lie dead at Martin Saturday afternoon after they had been electrocuted by voltage from a high tension wire. The victims are Robert Flannery, 38 years old, his 6-year-old son, John Hugh, his brother-in-law, Hugh Norris, 30, and Norris's wife, Miss Edith Fraser Norris, 28. The tragedy which appalled the Wright Beaver Creek community came as Flannery, neighbor of Norris in Ice Plant Holler of Martin, sought to string a radio aerial to the Norris home. And a radio aerial is like an outside antenna that people used to get better radio reception to their homes. Coroner Brady Shepard of Prestonsburg, who investigated the tragedy and removed the bodies to Arnold Funeral Home here, said he learned Flannery threw the aerial, which is antenna, across the power line conducting electricity to the truck mine further up the hollow, which Flannery and Norris operated jointly together. Contact of the aerial and power line carrying 2,600 volts resulted instantly in Flannery's death. The victim's young son screamed, ran to his father's rescue, and fell, his head resting on his father's shoulder. Moments later, according to the story of the tragedy, as constructed through the investigation, Norris stepped from a nearby co-house, bucket in hand. He too died instantly, electrocuted either by contact with the wire or through electrically charged ground. Miss Norris, in her home at the time, ran outside at the sound of the boy's scream and received a fatal shock. The belief was expressed that she also received the charge from the ground. Although not instantly killed, she was dead upon arrival at the Beaver Valley Hospital in Martin. But for the presence of mind and calm efficiency of Elbert Clark, a neighbor of the victims, a dozen or more others would have been electrocuted in grief-frenzied attempts to reach the 4 bodies or while milling around the scene in excitement, residents of Martin said this week. Clark armed himself with a piece of timber, they said, and with it not only fought back those venturing dangerously near, but also used it in removing the aerial antenna from the power line. Bodies of the 4 lay within an area of a few square feet, and the section of Martin in which the tragedy occurred was quickly packed by an excited crowd. Miss Flannery was forcibly restrained from rushing to her husband, and son Robert Randolph was reported as having suffered burns on his hands before Clark could push him to safety. The grass in the area where the bodies lay was burned. Time of the tragedy was placed at between 2 and 3 p.m. Flannery was a son of the late Mr. and Mrs. Hall Flannery, and a native of the Martin vicinity. He is survived by his widow, Miss Myrtle Fraser Flannery, 3 children, Billie Jean, Roberta, and Robert Randolph, 3 brothers, John and Tavis Flannery, both of Martin, and Philip Flannery of Michigan, and 4 sisters, Miss R.C. Barnett, Miss Kelly Dingus, and Miss Linville Hagens, all of Martin, and Miss Nola Flannery, Cleveland, Ohio. Norris, a World War II Navy veteran, was a son of Ben Norris, veteran C&O railroad engineer. Besides his father, he is survived by his two brothers, Jack and Bill Norris. Miss Norris was the daughter of the W.S. Fraser of Martin. Her father and the following brothers and sisters survive: Miss Robert Flannery, Otto and Theo Fraser, all of Martin, Miss Lawrence Maggard, and Eugene Fraser of Bipro, and Miss Sampa Smith of Melvin. Funeral rites for the four victims were conducted Monday afternoon in the Martin Theater, with a crowd of an estimated 1,500 persons packing the building and standing outside. The rites were conducted by Dr. Thomas W. Richard, Salt Lake City, Utah, Elder Ray Hahn Greevely of Utah, and Elder Hiram Anderson of Idaho, all ministers of the Church of Latter-day Saints at Martin, which Mr. and Mrs. Flannery were members of. Burial was made in the Fraser Cemetery at Martin under the direction of the Arnold Funeral Home.